even if it's to go to work out or do something for the day, we're setting goals. And that's another thing that I got from prison. It set short-term goals. Small short-term goals lead to a big one. Okay, how's it going?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Doing good, thank you.
Awesome, bro. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Where are you at these days? Where do you live?
I live in Glendale, like Colorado, Denver, Colorado.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar. Right
Yeah,
on. You've been there. Is that what were you born and raised there?
I'm from Montbello.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. Very good. And just what brought you out to Colorado?
No, I'm from Montbello, Colorado. You thought Montbello, California? That's
Yeah,
Monte.
yeah. Oh, okay. I got
Yeah.
you. I didn't know there was
Yeah.
a Montebello, California.
It's Montbello, Colorado without the E in the middle.
I got you. Montebello and Montebello.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
So
it,
I'm
man.
born and raised in Colorado.
Okay, okay. You enjoy it there?
Man, I love it.
Do you really?
I
Like,
do. However, I took a couple of vacations. I went to Florida twice since I've been out in Vegas once.
okay. You get 4 seasons there?
Yep.
Interesting. Interesting. I've never been to that part. We've only been to like Littleton. I don't know how far you are from that.
Saying it's all within a couple miles, literally.
Really?
That's where my house was. My halfway house was in Littleton.
Serious?
Yeah.
Holy cow, man. That's crazy. Littleton was on the news back in the day for all the wrong reasons, huh?
Yeah, that's what they say. Where you from, Travis?
Back east, man. Back east. Grew up back east in Boston. And spent most of my like early years, formidable years back there. And then when mom and dad, finally got when mom finally got the courage to leave, she moved across the country. Her family was in Arizona, and so she made the trek out there and kind of started life 2.0 all over.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but man, born and raised in like what I call like both sides of the fence. My mom was church going, optimistic. Her number one concern was always the kids. And my dad, he was an addict in all things. And so, for example, like he got into bodybuilding and, became, Mr. Massachusetts twice. And then once he got into heroin, it was just, he was Mr. Heroin. And so anything that he did was all consuming. And so, when he was younger, he didn't have the structure. He didn't have his father, his mother, his mom actually, committed suicide when he was young. And so he kind of grew up hustling. And so when he found the organized lifestyle, from a crime perspective, it just naturally, it was his path. And so I kind of had these one little bird here and one little bird there. My mom was like taking us to church, and then we'd get home from church and my dad would be in the garage counting all the money from, any of the pickups that day. It was an interesting dynamic, man.
So you had addictive mentality then?
Yeah. Yeah, big
At
time.
least.
Big time. And I'll tell you what, it's a blessing because even though the addictive personality runs and the addictive tendencies runs in our blood, the reason that I never did drugs was because of what I saw it destroy my dad with. It wasn't the DARE program. It wasn't the people at church telling me, stay off of drugs. It was because, my dad sitting in my room, opening up his arms and looking down and telling me, like, this is what got me here. And so I had the example of what not to do.
Oh, for sure. I remember growing up. Yeah, it was frowned upon when I was growing up.
Frowned upon in what way?
Like, because I'm 41, but my parents would use it, the crack epidemic, cocaine, all that alcohol. And growing up, we're like, obviously, we see the same stuff you've seen. I mean, it's different than stick a needle in your arm, but we see them spending money on the drugs and we us going without. But the generation before is like, you don't do that shit. You don't get high. And some people listen, some didn't. When I was in prison, I ran into so many people like youngsters that are like, man, I never even done heroin or Suboxone or meth. to prison. I'm like, damn, for real? And they're 3 years in, shooting up already. They got addicted in prison. Boredom, they say.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I'd love your take on this because I can't speak on it from the drug perspective, but I'm talking to a lot of people right now, that are talking about the epidemic of overdosing because apparently the stuff, in prison is so watered down, that when you get out and you're taking the same dosage amount, like it kills people immediately.
Oh, I know a lot of people that's done that too out here in Colorado. And you're right. It is watered down. No matter what it is, and they'll get out and they'll think they do the same shit, and they're hit quick.
Man, what was your upbringing like with your parents? Were they involved? Were they addicts? What was the story?
My dad was in and out of my life. He was in and out of prison. My mom and dad were both addicted to drugs and alcohol growing up. So it was pretty much a single mom household though. I had two brothers from my mom and dad, and I got other siblings from my dad and other women. But it was us three and my mom growing up. We grew up in poverty, but we didn't know this until we got older, obviously, right? Growing up, it's our normal. It was our normal, and I spoke about this in the past. Like it's our normal to sleep on the kitchen floor with the oven open because it's wintertime. We didn't think it was a big deal. And then we grew up, we're like, oh shit, that ain't normal, you know. But and it's kind of oxymoron to say this, but also and contradicting. But my mom gave us everything she could. She loved us with indescribable, you know. And every day we have a good day. I love you. When we get home, have a good day. How was your day? But Mount Bellevue, Colorado, back in the 80s and 90s, growing up, was predominantly a black neighborhood. So we grew up fighting a lot at first until we started carrying guns and weapons. And then over time, they're like, oh, these little Mexicans are crazy as hell. And we earned a name for ourselves. And then, you know what I mean? It blossomed from that. And then I did juvenile life. So I went to juvenile hall at 11 and got out at 17. My brother did juvenile time as well. My brother Jason, he's the middle one. Well, our oldest brother never been in trouble.
Never.
But no,
Still to this day.
yeah, nope.
Wow, man. Wow. So you said, I don't want to gloss over that. You said you did juvenile life.
Not only
Like,
juvenile life, it's 5 years in Colorado. I got another year for spitting on staff's face. So I did 6 years. So from the age 11 to 17, I was in juvenile hall. I got out at 17, and then I went back and I went to prison at 21.
bro, I like literally walk us through 11 getting into juvie. Obviously, you didn't wake up there. It had to be a series of interesting choices. Like what was the path, the trajectory?
And it was a series. You're right. It was breaking into cars, stealing. I'm not talking about like not 8 years old, stealing cars. I mean, breaking into cars at that time, breaking into cars, stealing the car stereos, the speakers, going selling them, going to the corner store, getting all kinds of candy and stuff. You know, breaking into houses, and I'm talking about just obnoxious, doing dumb stuff. Like we were just kids that didn't I didn't have no fear, no consequence, no nothing. So we break in the house and literally just trash them for no reason. Um, and all of it caught up to me. And I was the youngest one. You know how it goes. Hey, I took the rap, and I got hit.
Wow, man. Did they give you, so you're 11, they lock you up, they give you, I mean, what are the charges at that point to give you, 5 years, 6 years?
It was like burglaries, car thefts, just trespassing, all kinds of different charges. It was called commitments. Out here, it's called a juvenile commitment. And I just kept getting in trouble. While I was in juvenile, because I was little. I weighed probably 100 pounds. I was tiny, tiny. So I was always that little man syndrome, fighting or getting tested, or I was the one always, sticking up for myself. So I just got more in trouble in juvenile.
Wow. Yeah, I would imagine. What's that like, man? I mean, I think there's so much emphasis placed on the adult institutions and the programs. I talked to a guy yesterday. He works in California Department of Corrections and he's getting ready to retire. And so he's been around a while. And he said to me, he was pretty fired up about it. He said, I wish people would stop coming in, to these adult prisons. I wish they would start meeting these kids on the streets.
And so I'm trying to figure something out right now about that. Literally as we speak, we did a conference in California. I mean, Vegas last month. Me and a buddy of mine, Corey Woodard. We went to and it was NCAAP or NAACP, the conference, and we spoke there, and it was to stop the school to prison pipeline, right? Pretty much, and that looking for a second chance act. And my buddy Corey made an amazing point. He was like, "Yeah, everybody's talking about getting kids off the streets. Yeah, I agree. And then what? And then what? Where's the structure at? True. There's some programs, but come on now, you know, how do you tell a kid out here that's 13 picking up the sack, making even if it's a couple $100 a week, which is a lot to a teenager, to drop that and go to school. To us as adults, of course, it sounds good, but to them, we have to have alternatives, you know. And I agree, reach them before they hit it.
Man, that's crazy. That's a beautiful thing, man. And so did you have that structure at, inside juvie? What was the day-to-day like in juvenile hall for you at
And,
11?
and see, and I'll be honest, y'all, and I'll be honest and transparent with juvenile hall out here in Colorado, at least. There's a lot of programs out here. There's a lot of education opportunities, but like at 11, 12, we don't. What's the opportunity? We don't. You know what I mean? For
No.
the older kids, maybe 16, maybe yeah, exactly. But at that age, we don't see it as that. We're like, what? That sucks. I got my GED in juvenile, as a matter of fact. And me and my brother talk about it all the time because he did as well, I believe. And it's pretty much like it was relaxing. We couldn't get our GED in the streets because we're always fighting and going to school. We couldn't focus on our education. We were used to them environments. For some environments, we could kick it, get our GED, get our education, and that's what it was. But yeah, there's a good opportunities out here in Colorado from juvenile hall.
Man, interesting. And so I would assume, you can correct me, but I would assume juvenile hall was just juvenile gangland.
Juvenile hall was cracked for more than prison for the most part, minus the weapons and drugs, absolutely, because you're getting tested way more.
Wow. And juvenile, is it run on like a bully system, or is it still a racial system?
Juvenile was more of a bully system when I was in it,
Okay.
out here, but and it's
Like
crazy
whoever's
because
the biggest and baddest kind of runs the pods.
kind of until they meet a little badass kid like me that's going to test them because I learned the theory that hey, I'm little, I've been fighting my whole life. I'm not the baddest dude. I could get whooped like anybody else, but I've been fighting. You're a big dude. You probably never fought in your life because you're so big. So when I learned that out, I was that little dude testing them.
Man, that's
But
so it's funny you say that, man. And let me tell you why it's funny you say that, because so I got a 13-year-old boy, and his name's Brock. And so Brock is in jujitsu, and 5 days a week. And the reason that we put him in jujitsu years ago is because exactly what you just said. Like the keyboard warriors of today, most of these dudes out here in the street, I'm going to say 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5 out of 10, have never been socked in the mouth.
yeah, I agree.
And I think because you compile that with insecurity and then social media allowing everybody to run their mouth, I think it makes a more dangerous youth coming up because they don't know what it's like to get punched or choked out, or they don't know what it's like to have a knife pulled on them.
And that's why the murder rate's so high, I believe. You're right. Because they're just like going to shoot somebody quick. They don't know what it's like to be challenged and have to go fight in the park. Maybe at the park after school. Maybe they don't know what it's like. So they're quick to pull out, they're going to shoot you because that pride gets in the way.
Man, that's interesting. If you had to meet the kids today, if you had to meet those kids going through the stuff, like what do you say to them? What's your guidance for them? How do you get to that youngster to make them, even though 11, 12, 13, how do you get inside their mind, bro?
And honestly, I'll sit down and and no offense to people that's never did time. I wish I never did time. But with that being said, I'll let them know like, hey, well, I can say what the fuck I want to say because I've been there, I've been there, I've been there. So I can say that. I have the right to say this. I have nothing to gain from giving you this knowledge right here. Because I think that for me, it was always when I was in juvenile, somebody would come and yeah, they had good intentions, right? But well, you got your doctorate in criminology. You never been to prison? Oh, my brother has. Well, you don't know. Get the fuck away from me. That was me. I was always like that, and I'll rile everybody else up. You know. So I got the best education experience. With that, moving forward, also is I have nothing to gain from this. You could go to prison tomorrow, or you could stay out of prison and go to college. I don't get not a dollar from it. This is game. They listen to me now. Am I breaking down to them like, hey, when I growing up, I never been in the game. I was always around them and stuff, but my family has, but I've always even in prison, I did my own thing. But with that being said, I see how it is. I see how your own homie is gonna cross you out. Your own homie is gonna sleep with your lady when you go to prison. Your own homie is gonna do all that. I promise you. And when you go to prison, it's for the most part, it's your own people that you gotta watch out for. So when you're out here thinking all this, and then it's gonna be your mom and dad visiting you, sending you money, the one that you're cussing out and being disobedient to. And I'll be go into detail because they'll start asking questions and go from there. But I think it's more of the fact that when I tell them like I can say because I've been there. You know, just like when I was in prison, I gave my life sentence back, and I'll talk to other lifers, and I'm like, "Motherfucker, I can say it," because they're like, "You don't know what I could say it," because I was doing life, I wasn't facing it, so I can say them, and they all say hands down, "Well, we agree. You got the right to say that."
Mm. It's such a unique perspective, bro. It's the reason that almost like it's the reason that sounds weird, but it's one of the reasons why we started doing these broadcasts back into prisons because with all due respect for everybody who is working inside of a jail or a prison or institution, God bless them for taking those jobs, right? But I just believe, and I've seen the data that if an 18-year-old comes down and he's looking at life, he's looking at 30, he's looking at whatever, the last person on the planet that youngster is going to listen to is some middle-aged white lady who's a caseworker. No
Exactly.
disrespect.
For sure, no disrespect, because they got good intentions for the most part, right? They got good hearts, and I've learned that during my time out here in Colorado. There's some CEOs that are just doing their job. They want to pay their bills and support their family, and I respect that. And there's ones that go above and beyond and try to be assholes and fuck with you and take stuff they shouldn't. That's different. That's sort of a conversation, you know. But with that being said, and that's why I want to get my story out there that I was doing life without parole, life without parole, remedies exhausted, appeals denied. I was done, and but I'm out from a blessing, and that's why. Have you heard of the Second Chance Act?
I have, but speak on it.
So the Second Chance Act is trying to pass in other states, not in Colorado yet, and it's pretty much saying like in Vegas, that's where I went to talk about it. It's 10 years, but it's going to vary per states of how much time you do. And the Second Chance Act means no matter how much sentence you're sentenced to, after a certain amount of time, you're eligible for parole. I don't guarantee it, but you're eligible for it. And that's important because you just said it. When you're young and you're facing or doing life without parole, there's nothing, no hope. They say take hope away from man, and he's a breathing corpse. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's crazy because on TikTok, some chick inboxed me the other day, and she was saying about one of her loved ones and how she was like, he thinks this, but he has false hope, blah blah blah. And again, everything I say is just my perception and my experience, right? I'm not speaking for everybody else, but and I kind of flashed her like, hey, who are you to take away his false hope? If that's what he has as false hope, it's hope. You don't want him to have no hope. I promise you. If you love this man, you let him have whatever hope he wants. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Second Chance Act is false hope, but it's hope because eventually people will start getting out on it. And that 21-year-old that goes in, instead of saying, I have nothing to gain, nothing to lose, because you don't. And out here, if you got life without parole, you could stab somebody, kill them. You go to ad sec for 11 months a year, have to send your electronics home, a couple $100, get out a year later and go right to another prison and get all your stuff back. Zero consequence. You're already doing life. We're not cats. We don't got 9 lives. We got 1 life. That's it. You're gonna give me another life sentence? It don't matter. So with that Second Chance Act, it's gonna give everybody incarcerated hope. I believe it'll slow down the violence, it'll slow down the all kinds of stuff in there because you're going from no hope to hope.
Man, hope is what we cling on to in there. It's so interesting you say that, right? Even, I mean, and we've seen it. You obviously you're a living testament to it. So walk back through. So you get out at 17, right? 11 to 17, you did juvie time, right?
Yep.
You get out at 17. What's your life like then?
So I get out at 17. I go back to my mom's house. It's me, her, my brothers, and right now I obviously I became more hood smart and juvenile, you know. But I chose that though, so I started learning about different stuff. Damn, you can make how much money doing what? You can do that. Oh, okay, at 11, you kind of know, but you don't know. You just see it. So I'm like, oh shit. So I started selling. I started slanging weed. I remember going to the corner store with. I get an ounce of weed. I go to the corner store and roll up blunts and sell blunts, $5 a blunt, and try to double my money, buy my own stuff, and then eventually I started selling pounds and pounds of weed. So from 17 to 21, I started selling weed and I started selling meth and other drugs that whatever I could get pretty much to make money on. I was a hustler, and during that time, I got I got shot in my stomach. I was getting robbed during the drug deal. The bullet went in here, came out here, all the way through me. Almost died. Didn't stop me. I was literally in a walker with a 357 on after I got shot. Didn't change. My grandma calls me Gato because I was hard headed. I got hit with a baseball bat, TBI, traumatic brain injury, fighting downtown, getting over my chain. I got stabbed 4 times in the back. All this is between 17 and 21. and none of this opened my eyes up. I was oblivious. I would say like I was trying to be the man, and I wasn't even a man. Nice cars on rims, jewelry, all that stuff, but really I was a kid inside because I didn't know the consequence. I didn't care, and honestly, getting sentenced to life without parole saved my life. Doing 19 and a half years in prison saved my life because when I caught this case, something inside of me just kind of died. I don't know how to explain it, but
Dang, bro. How do they bring you that life charge? What was your life that day? What were you doing? What were you running? What was the charge?
so it was felony murder. Out here in Colorado, felony murder is now a class two. They passed the law. Yeah, they passed in a lot of states, but at the time I got sentenced as a class one, which means that felony murder means in the commission of a felony, if you're part of any felony and somebody dies, not any, there's like 7 felonies, but if you're part of a felony and somebody dies, you're liable as a person that pulled the trigger or committed the homicidal act. So mine was actually a drug deal / robbery that turned bad. My friend ended up killing the guy, the victim. We flee the scene. Later on, the cops killed my friend in the unrelated shootout. So the guy that committed the murder is dead. They know he's the one that did it. It wasn't a secret, but I was part of that felony. So then when I got arrested, by law, I'm legally 100% guilty. I cannot win. But when you tell a 21-year-old, plead guilty, we're going to give you 40 years, that's it. But hell no. No. Knowing no matter what, you're going to get life without parole. I was hit no matter what. My DNA was at a sink, so I bit the victim. We were fighting over a gun. That's what happened. It was a drug deal gone wrong. During the drug deal, some other money issues came up. The victim had an issue with it. He put a gun out on me. I'm 21, weigh 130 pounds, no weapon. So I'm wrestling with him. I end up biting his arm. That's how they found my saliva and teeth impression on his arm. My friend ends up shooting this guy 5 times. It sounds excessive. I'm not minimizing it, but he didn't mean to kill him. The shots that killed him was in he shot him in his arm, his leg, his butt cheek. So they were all extremities. The shot that killed the guy went in his arm, out his arm, and into his heart. So, and again, I'm not minimizing it. You know what I mean? I always like to say, like, my condolences to the victim's family, no matter what, because the man did lose his life, and for that, I was gonna live with that in my heart. You know, so I do always have my condolences to the victim's family about that. Obviously, if I can go take it back, I can. I can't. All I can do is try to be my best version and learn from it, for what it's worth.
Big time, bro. So did you take it to trial? How did you get sentenced? You take it to trial?
Yes.
They give you a plea deal?
No, so I went to trial. They offered me 6 years if I wrote a statement.
6
The
years.
driver, yeah, the driver was spacing the time. There was a translator. They had other co-defendants, but nobody knew what happened because we didn't say nothing. We got in the car, didn't say nothing. We just drove. We looked at each other. That what happened? Didn't get nothing. Let's go. So we didn't say nothing. So nobody knew but me. So they offered everybody 6 years to say whose role was what. Since I knew the most information, obviously they were like, "We'll give you 6 years too." They already wrote statements on you saying you went in the hotel, you did all that, but we'll give you 6 years with a statement or 40 without a statement. And it's crazy because my brother was my Sally in the county jail. He was fighting some attempted murder cases, right? At the same time. And my brother had been to prison before this, and he had tears in his eyes. He said, "Bro, take that 40 piece." I'm like, "Hell no." He's like, "Bro, I know good dudes that got life. Take that 40 piece." I didn't take it. He begged me to take that 40 piece. Obviously, the 6 years with a statement wasn't an option. So, so I went to trial, and I ended up getting found guilty of robbery and felony murder. I was sentenced to life without parole. I was 23 when I got sentenced. I was 21 when I got locked up. And it's crazy because when I got sentenced to life, I wasn't even like, and that's why the brain development is real. That shit's so real. Like, I didn't even care. I was like, life, who cares? Looking back, so dumb. But like, I didn't even know how I was numb. Slept like a baby that night. Didn't even sleep leading up to trial because the unknown. Slept like a baby. Went to prison. I know this is a little fast forward. We'll go in between, right? But like, I say that because I didn't even cry when they gave me that much time, but I cried when I gave it back.
Ooh, man. Unpack that. Holy cow, that's deep. You
Yeah,
cried when you gave it back, huh?
I still do sometimes. Yeah, like when I first got out, I was hella emotional. Man, I would like be just driving or walking on the street or eating something like, damn, I'm out. I can't believe I'm out. And I would just like not balling, but just tears. So I couldn't stop. They just start coming. I still do sometimes. Like I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, "Damn, what do you think about this?" And I'm like, "It's crazy because 10 months ago I was in prison. I already got resentenced, but like so like what 2 years ago I was doing life without parole." And we started thinking, I just the emotions are there, you know.
Man, talk about a gratitude moment.
Absolutely.
Man, that's incredible. So you go to trial and they give you that life. Boom. And who's anybody in the courtroom that day? Is it just you? What's that
Um,
feeling like? What's
yeah, I got my family there, my mom, a
what's
family
that
and friends.
feeling like when they hit you with life without parole?
Numb. I think, and no, I know that I didn't really grasp it, and that's why I say brain development is real. That mitigation situation is real because I didn't. I was 21, and by legally I was 23. Yeah, so you say, yeah, he was a man, he was legally an adult. Yeah, but mentally and emotionally, to
You
say
think
the
you think you were still back that 11-year-old that first got locked up?
yup, didn't care. So much to the fact that when I went to prison, people had to because you got to show people your paperwork out here. When I first found you did, but like people didn't believe me I had life sentence because they were like, you must be still like numb to it, like it hasn't set in yet. Because I was still like myself in a good mood and happy and shit. And I was like, I'm not dumb. I know, but it's crazy because that attitude I think is what helped me get through so many days in there. So much respect because to me, I was telling somebody just yesterday. I was like, a lot of people in prison are that are doing life. A lot of my homies are like they're bitter, they're angry, and I don't lock them. Everybody's different. We all cope differently. But me, I'm like, shit, I'm doing life no matter what. I'm about to be happy. I'm gonna get in shape. I'm gonna try to pull some females. I'm gonna try to make some money in here. I'm gonna have 3 pairs of shoes instead of one. I'm gonna have the best. You know what I mean? Everything. I'm gonna do the best I can if I'm gonna be in prison. That was what got me through.
Wow, man. Wow. So how many how many years of that life sentence did you end up serving
I did 19 and a half years total,
straight?
straight. I was
Jeez,
21 when I got locked up. I got out when I was 40.
goodness gracious. When you get locked up and you've got that felony murder charge, do they put you on high yards there? How's your intake? Because you obviously have a background being a juvenile. So
Oh yeah,
what's that
yep.
like
I
when you
went to
hit the yard?
Sterling, Sterling High Side. It's called the High Side. So I was in maximum most of my time. Maximum, it's called closed out, pretty much closed custody because of my sentence. So you could, no matter how long you do, if you got that much time, you're gonna be on the closed yard for the most part. Um, but honestly, and I say this, and I never glorify prison to nobody. I never will. But with that being said, I'm glad I went to a max prison Sterling for my first 8 years because I learned a lot in there. It helped me survive for the rest of my time. But also, and I spoke about this before to like even the DAs out here and people I spoke to when I gave my time back. Like it made me a man. Like good dudes in there taught me about respect, morals, ethics, integrity, things that I didn't have growing up really, right? Like hand on hand, sitting down, talking to me for hours. Teach, oh shit, and I won't like I said, I'll never glorify it, but like I became a good man in prison from good dudes that taught me stuff. Dudes that are getting counted out right now. Dudes that are being called monsters. And I'm not saying everybody in prison is a good dude, but there's good people in there.
Man, I love that you say that because I agree with you. I agree with you. Obviously, it's what we do. And it's always so interesting because like I just want to prove to the world that like you can make a transformation behind bars. Like you can actually be redeemed behind bars, right? Like I've met more guys and you've done way more time so you can correct me, but I've met more guys with a life sentence that are calmer than some of these kids that get 18, 15, 16, 14 months.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell people out here, they say, what shocked you the most about getting out? My answer is always the same. The negativity out here is crazy. And I say
Mm,
that like prison, and don't get me wrong, it's like obviously there's no like worries of stress and bills and right. There's not a responsibility, but there's survival. So unless there's politics and shit going on, you could walk out at 6, 7 in the morning any given day and have a good conversation with any race, any age bracket, anything. You watched that game last night? You're getting a cup of coffee on the tier. Yeah, no, it's good. Get crazy, huh? Damn, what you gonna do today? Positivity, laughing, good, man. Whether it's 6 at night or 6 in the morning and 10 at night, you could have good conversation, good energy. And out here, it's like the people I be running into are like seem negative for the most part. Or like when I talk about goals to certain people, you'd be surprised how many grown ass men and women are like, I've never set goals before. Damn, for real? In prison, a lot of people set goals. You know what I mean? Maybe and people on the outside are like, that's because they have nothing but time. Yeah, but we choose to set goals. We don't have to. You know, even if it's to go to work out or do something for the day, we're setting goals. And that's another thing that I got from prison. It set short-term goals. Small short-term goals lead to a big one.
Man, I love that. I love that, man. It does. It definitely sounds like you can make an impact with where you're at with these youth.
And I want to.
Yeah. What do you? What keeps you busy these days on the day to day? Work, life, school, family.
Well, I work 7 days a week. I'm a peer recovery coach out here in Colorado. So peer recovery coach is, for those that know, it's like a mentor, ally, resource broker. I help people on drugs and alcohol get in a sober living home, inpatient, outpatient. I help people with mental health issues. I talk to them, chop it up with them, set goals with people. It's cool. I love it.
Man, that's beautiful. Like it all comes full circle, huh?
It all comes for a circle, yo. And it's crazy because a lot of my clients haven't been in prison. It started with some of them have, but some haven't. And then comes the drug situation or helping people. We can all relate in one way or another. Like I've learned since I've been out here that like you could have been on addicted to fentanyl. I could have never done fentanyl, but you kicked that habit and I got out from a life sentence. So our trauma, for the most part, can equal, right? So we can relate somehow. Or you had a death, I didn't, but this happened in my life. We still got that trauma where we can all overcome something. We could do it together.
I love that, bro. I love that. And I think I think when you speak about the trauma, that it's an informed perspective, but it's also healing. Like I think so many of these guys that you probably come across have never been able to sit someone across from someone who looks like you and be able to like pour their heart out.
Yeah, they trip out sometimes. Actually, yeah, some people are like, that was crazy. I would have never thought to have a conversation with somebody like you. You're right. But afterwards, they're grateful. And so am I. I'm grateful for them too, because it's healing for me as well. That's my part of, and I say this like, I don't want to be remembered for what I went to prison for. I want to be remembered for what I got out and did. You know what I mean? Like I've met so many of my clients that like at first are like, I don't know about this. I'm like, let's talk. And then 2 months later, like, I'm so glad that like I signed up with you, man. It's crazy. I never even thought like it would have helped me like this because we don't. We keep it pushing. And that's crazy because I didn't either. So funny story is before I got resentenced, I didn't know I was getting resentenced at first. What can I go back to that real quick?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, so I was doing life without parole. All my appeals were denied. And probably about 10 years into my sentence, I met some dude out here, and he told me about a felony murder. He was like, man, they pay me passing in other states. And I seen him after I got resentenced. I hugged him and thanked him. He still don't know to this day what I meant by this. And it's crazy because it's black and white. I said, you gave me, I'm out because of you. I'm getting out because of you. Because he said they're going to pass that law. Watch one day. They're passing in other states. Since then, I was following felony murder in other states. Okay. In California, they did this. In Michigan, they did this. And I was following every year. And I started writing politicians, legislators, senators, everybody out here in Colorado. So they passed that law. They passed it, but it wasn't retroactive. So it still didn't affect me. Somebody was like, man, who's this dude like writing all these letters and stuff about this law? They're like, it ain't gonna affect him. Well, why not? Let's see what he's up to. Thankfully, for the past 9 years, I was a mentor in prison. I was doing good. I was leading by example. I was taking groups, cognitive thinking classes. You know, I'm getting my education. So I'm thankful for that because I wouldn't be out if I wasn't doing that. If I said I'm doing life, who cares? So that they came to see me. They had some new unit in the district attorney's office in Colorado, and I was their first case, but it wasn't guaranteed. But during that visit, the DA recommended I take therapy. And no offense to nobody, but verbatim, I laughed and I was like, therapy? That's that white people shit. And we started laughing. They was like, for real, you should really consider it. And it's one of the best things that happened to me, like learning, like just and now I'm not a therapist, but as a coach, I take some of the responsibilities of just listening to somebody. And I've learned like, damn. And then looking back though, I've always used them strategies kind of because I remember I used to write letters to people and sometimes I send them out. But I felt better after I wrote it. Just venting. You know what I mean? And after that visit, I still didn't know if I was going to be resentenced because it wasn't guaranteed. And they came back and offered me a 32-year deal, which would get me to do one more year in prison. But
Wow, man. Holy cow. That had to be, I mean, you go from a life sentence to 32-year deal. You're looking at 1 year left. Like, what's that feel like when you're sitting in that cell?
shit, I would have got out immediately, but all the write ups I caught while I was doing life caught up to me. So they took all that good time. But again, I'm gonna say it again. I cried. I cried when I got resentenced. I cried the whole time I was reading the paper to the judge. It's indescribable, and it's crazy because like I believe in God. I pray every morning, every night, and throughout the day. But I'm not like a holy roller. I can't name two scriptures by heart. I can't. But I got that relationship with Him, right, with God. And before I got out of prison, I was like, man, God, please take the hatred out of my heart, like, because I used to be like aggressive, I should say. And people was always told me that in prison. Like, I'll be like, hey, what time is it? Like, just my approach. I didn't mean to be like that. You know what I mean? And I'm talking to other grown ass men too. So I got in a lot of fights for that reason. Because they're like, what you talk to like that? You. And we got in a fight. So, but He took it out of my heart. I swear. Like I get out, like even my cousin, we work out together, we're always together, and he's like, man, it's crazy to see you out here the way you are now because you just don't trip on nothing. And people always say it's my smile because people always approach me and talk to me. The energy, I think, I swear, I'm not exaggerating. At least 3 times a day, no matter what, somebody approaches me, talks to me, random conversation, and it's you would think I'm unapproachable because I'm tatted from feet to head, but I'm always smiling. Um, when I first got out of prison, my homie taught me something, and I use this. I do use it, and it works. I'll go to somewhere, and I'll see like somebody like mugging me. I'll see them looking at me or like maybe even sizing me up, kind of. But I don't see them. I'll go about my day, and I'll find a way to go by them. And I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing, bro? Hey, them some tight ass shoes, man. Where you get those from? Hell yeah, man. I like your style, man. I'm from Joshua. Where you from?" It breaks the whole ice. You know what I mean? Before I'm like, "What's up? What you looking at?" So I love doing that. I love going to the store and seeing somebody's name tag and just calling them by their name. Hey, so how you doing today? It goes from have a good day to hey, have a good day. You just personalize them. So I like doing things like that since I've been out, putting a smile on people's faces.
I love it, man. How long you been out now?
I've been out about 10 months, about 5 months on parole because I was in the halfway house for 5 months.
Yeah.
Halfway house, best thing that happened to me by far.
How come?
Because when I was in prison, everybody was like, "Hey, go straight to parole." Because I could have been out before sooner. I mean, no, like a month later, but I went straight to parole in no halfway house. But to me, after doing that much time, the reintegration is real. Like the slowly for surely, I needed that, and that's just me. I needed it because would I want to be straight on parole? I would have, but on parole, I would have probably went to my brothers or my daughters, and like they got their own lives. They don't got time to teach me shit. In the halfway house, there's structure. People say, "Oh, it's a setup." It's a setup because you're getting high in the bathroom, fool. That's why it's a setup. Get a job, do what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And for me personally, yeah, I got a job, I had a routine, a schedule, and I learned things like because at night we're all stuck there. So my bunkies, my roommates, there were 6 of us in the room. Hey, show me how to do this. I don't know how to send emails, receive emails. I still don't some of this stuff on the phone. But the halfway house, I learned so much from the people in there still because they got the time to teach me. You know what I mean? Even now, I got a routine that I keep. And everybody that I know from prison, I tell them the same advice: get a routine. If not, I promise you, it'll be hectic out here for you because we're so used to routine. The best thing is you create your own routine now.
Yeah, it is true, man. The routine is freedom for me. I don't with the people who like just kind of fly by the seat of their pants every day, like those people give me anxiety.
Yeah, it's exactly. You just said it. It's freedom because you create your own routine now. You know what I mean? 7 days a week, you can find me up by 7 o'clock in the morning with the windows open, shades open, music on, cleaning up a little bit, no matter what. I love doing that.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. What's your family life like now?
Uh, I'm single. I got 2 daughters. My daughters are 22 and 21.
How are they
We
doing?
huh?
How are they doing?
They're doing good. We had dinner last night together. Um, I was in Florida for this week, so but usually every Monday we've been doing that. We have dinner at one of our houses. We take turns cooking. They got different moms, so we're like all getting our foundation together. I'm learning to adapt to their life as well as them to mine because they thought I was never getting out. And we spoke about this, me and them. They lived their life thinking I was never ever getting out of prison. So they adapted to that. So now that I'm out, I got sad sometimes when they don't find me in their schedule. And they have to like put me in my place, like, look, Dad, we're sorry, but like this is new to us too. And selfishly, I had to accept that, you know what I mean, what they're saying, and understand like it's on their time too, not just mine. Because getting out, honestly, I'm like, I just did a lot, 19 and a half years. It's all about me, 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 me. But it's not. It's like they got their lives and their foundation and their um schedules and routines too, right? So I had to learn that, like just like I had to adapt to getting out, they had to adapt to me getting out to them, and it was hard. Um, and now, like you said, like I want to like find a way to reach Juvenile more, but I also want to let the fellas know that's in their doing time, whether it's life without parole or 70 years or 400 years. It's there's, and I don't care if you're from California, Texas, Michigan, Colorado. There's hope. They're changing shit everywhere, changing it. Like I believe that I honestly believe in my heart that the life without parole sentences are going to be gone eventually. And I think it'll start with the second act look, but that hope, I promise you, there's hope.
Yeah, man, you're living hope. You're the living proof. I love it.
I love it too. I love it too. Travis, you know what's crazy is I spoke about this the other day and I got kind of emotional. It was on TikTok Live or something. I was talking about something, but it was a real though. Like I was getting out of prison and I got homies doing life without parole, and they genuinely hugged me and cried. Grown ass men doing life. Like you brought good friend bonds in there, and they're like, man, nobody's best deserving than you, and that shit made me cry for real. Cause I'm like, damn, this was doing life too. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he wasn't wishing it was him, but a couple of them like, man, you deserve that shit. No, nobody more than I was like, damn. That how humbling is that to say that to somebody who's getting out when you're doing life? And I still keep in touch with a lot of them. I send them JPay pictures, letters. I show them love. Yup. Shout out to my homie Scanlon. He wrote me a letter. I still remember to this day what it says on the end of it. I cried when I got that. Straight up. He's doing 100-something years for bank robberies. And he told me, we love you. We're proud of you. You showed us that boxes ain't real. I gave him hope. That shit, hell yeah. I felt so proud. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like I gave people hope in there. And I get messages from my people, like their people's wives, or somebody would text me, or their brother or sister, or parents, like, hey, so and so said thank you for doing what's right. Because I do know that I'm a testament of them in there. I do know that if I get out here and I could speak for us or do the right thing and show like it's possible, that they might get a chance. And I also know that if I get out and fuck up, guess what? It could close the door for all of them, which it shouldn't, but it will probably. So that I love having that responsibility on my shoulders. Like I'm leading by example to show that there's dudes that could get out and make more of a better impact than me that are still in there doing life. Give them a chance too.
Beautiful, man, because it's like you've broken all of these barriers so that everybody else can break them after you. Like that's what's so fun. When we started doing this and I started going into prison and now it's like a thing. But we were doing this back in 2013, pouring life into it. And I just wanted to prove to people, like I would sit across from people and they'd say, oh, you can't get a job if this. And I'd be like, I'm living proof of this. What are you talking about? Like, and there's so many, I mean, you witnessed this for 2 decades. Like there's so many misconceptions, so many lies inside prison. Like, oh, Josh, you'll never get this. You'll never do that. You'll never because. In all of those limits, bro, those are all mental limits.
For sure. You said the best. And I got this from my boy Corey too. Again, I bet he has some good ass shit, some game that I'm stealing from his mouthpiece. And he was like, in prison, it's a facade. And they're like, what you mean? That's our world, yeah, but it's a facade because I don't care how much power you got in prison. On the streets, that shit means you're a grain of salt on the beach of sand, on the sand, you know what I mean? And that's why I say to people, and I will be honest with you, that was kind of hard for me at first out here a little bit because even though I didn't gangbang, people love and respect me out here in Colorado, every prison, because I did my own thing. I've always did the right thing. I wasn't political, but I was involved in politics because like I had to be. But I always did what's right. My name always 100, so people love that, Set on my own 10 the whole time. So they respect me a lot. So getting out and I'll say being nobody out here, it was kind of at first like, but I'd rather be nobody on the streets than somebody in prison. But
Mm.
Corey was like, man, something to the effect of like, you build all that up in prison, and there you can't get out here and go to the bank and be like, man, I was a shot caller of 3,000 inmates just now. You can't go to the bank and say, I just stabbed a dude that called me whatever out of my name. It means zero out here. In that world, yeah. But out here is nothing. And honestly, society, I think it's getting more and more normal now because people do got more people involved, like their friends or brothers in prison. Remember, 20 years ago was taboo. Even if your
Yeah.
brother was in prison, you're like, hell no, no, nobody in prison. People were ashamed, but now it's more people in the system, and they're not ashamed to admit it. But I think people are realizing, hey, we're getting out when you're neighbors. Our kids go to school with your kids. I might see you picking up my son when you're picking your son up, or whatever. So let's do the rehabilitation thing because it makes more sense. You can't force us to be rehabilitated, though, you know. Um, but yeah, it's crazy. I do love being out, though. I don't know. It's just I'm just grateful.
Yeah, I can tell, man. I can tell you're super grateful, and I love to see it. Where do you see yourself, this first year? You just kind of got your legs underneath you, right? Like, where do you see yourself a year from now? What are some of the goals that you talked about, that you set for yourself?
Uh, to get back into the juvenile system somehow, in the prison somehow, to go speak to people. The juvenile systems, to stop them from going to prison. Actually, the schools, juveniles in prison. The schools, to stop them from going to juveniles facilities. The juvenile facilities, to stop them from going to prisons. And the prisons, to give people hope. Because people heard about it, and my homies all have been know me, but I want them to see me walk back. Because in Colorado, they're doing it now too. There's dudes going in with ankle braces still back in the prisons. So that's the good thing, is they're learning that this peer on peer thing is a thing. We listen more. I think it's lowering the recidivism rate by doing like my job. I'm a peer coach. I'm a mentor. And it's crazy because like on TikTok, that's what, like, you see my story. Like, there's people like once in a while, I try so hard not to respond. Maybe 1 out of 10 I do. I ain't gonna lie. There's very few negative ones, but they do sometimes. And I'll
Yeah.
say one comment, I'll stop myself. But it's hard not to. But like, it's crazy how like what was I saying? Oh, like to stop the recidivism rate, how like the peer on peer thing. They're learning like us working with each other works. I'm a mentor. And somebody might be like, as a devil advocate, like, how you a mentor? You just in prison this long. Exactly. So my perception is different.
Yeah.
I would want that, right? Even before I got out of prison, and I was a mentor in prison. I was one of the best mentors they had, and all the youngsters, they all loved me. They would all say that because, and again, somebody listening that don't know politics but don't want to understand this, but you understand it, and the people in prison understand that. I would keep it real with them. They would come in, and I would give my spiel, and I'll be like, "Hey, if you're trying to get out, man, you got to be a better person, be a better dad, a son, or whatever. There's these classes, these groups sign up for. You could go home earlier. There's the incentive unit. However, if you want to get high, there's grams going for 300 at this unit. What hood you from? Oh, you're so and so got keys for you guys. Go holler at him real quick before you start everything. Right now, this is going on in Chow Hall with the races, and I'll break it down to them because there's a seat for every ass. I would say, and I'll be like, hey, so with that being said, no matter what you're gonna do it, but do it the right way. Fuck it, you're in prison no matter what, and that's why they respected me because my approach was straight up forward, right? Because everybody don't want to go in there just do classes and groups, and I'm not okay. Well, if you're in politics, do it right. That's what it is. And the orientation, there was no cops in there. It was all us convicts. So I had to answer certain questions. And sometimes people were like, damn, you told them, yeah. Obviously, before that, the people would tell me, like, I knew what I could and couldn't say. You know what I mean? Like, but sometimes the homies would say, hey, how so-and-so, any of my homies going there, tell them come holler at me. All right, cool. And I would always tell people, and what I suggest, and your big homies, no matter what race or hood you're from, guaranteed you they'll agree with me, get your education. If it's time to go, then you got to do what you got to do. That part, I'm not going to talk you out of it. If your number's called, it is what it is, player. However, in the meantime, let's sign up for this class. Go home and you get 30 days knocked off. You might learn something. I learned shit from 7 Habits was my favorite class in prison.
7 Habits?
Absolutely.
Really? That's fantastic. You guys have that. Why was that your favorite?
It's 7 Habits Highly Effective People. I did a TikTok about it, about habit 5. Seek first to understand and then be understood. That habit changed my life because, and I think anybody listening right now could agree, for the most part, when we're in any kind of combative situation or argument or conversation, a controversial conversation, we're listening to respond. because I don't care what you're saying. My rebuttal's on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to listen to what you're saying. So now I sit back and I listen to understand why you're saying it or what you're saying, and then I'll respond. Like, oh shit, okay. And I've also learned that like our approach or the way we talk to people, like even me, we're humans, so nobody wants to be wrong or look dumb. Nobody does. And I've learned that it's okay that we could both be right. Perception is everything. It's okay. I'm not saying you're wrong just because I'm right. We're both right. That's what you think. That's what I believe. And I've learned that approach gets me so much farther with people. Um, another, it wasn't a class, but it was a book that actually the district attorney before I got sentenced recommended it, and it was "Don't Take Everything Personal." It was in the fourth agreement, the four agreements, and the fifth agreement in the book, and don't take everything personal. And I used to take everything personal, and it's crazy. I've taught so many people since I've been out that habit or that agreement, and they say it changed their life too since I've been out because we take things personal. Like if me and you're in a conversation, somebody comes and cuts us off, start talking off top before I say, you don't see us talking? I say, excuse me, God damn. Now I realize they're not saying I don't respect Travis and Josh. They're some oblivious and they come to cut us off. When they bump into and say, excuse me, 9 out of 10 times, they're not trying to punk you. They're oblivious. They're not saying I don't respect this dude. He did this or they just, it's nothing to do with you. It's them. And that helps me get through every day out here. I wish I would have knew that sooner in prison. Don't take everything personal.
Dang, bro, your energy is infectious, bro, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. I think you're going to do some incredible things. How can everybody find you out there if they're looking for you?
Hey, I got my TikTok. It's my name, Joshua Rosales. That's how you found me. My Facebook. Everything's just my name, Josh or Joshua Rosales.
Good, man. I appreciate it, brother. Any last words to the fellas?
Hey, man, much love. Keep you guys' head up. All the good, solid ones. Keep it real. That hope's real. Like I said, I was doing life without parole. All my appeals were denied. But change is real too, though. You know, rehabilitation is real. Them opportunities, no matter what state you're in, I know they're in every state. Um, and honestly, even if you go in for the wrong reason, because I started going in for the wrong reasons at first to classes. Fuck, meet me at this class. Sign up for it, and we go meet in other units. Just meet there. And after we do what we got to do, we're there for an hour. So we started listening, and I started learning shit. And then I started signing up for them because I started getting things from it. So whatever the reason that draws you to that class or program, get into it. And I'll tell you what a language we could relate to, right? Paper trail. Paper trail is a motherfucker. Just like they do it every time you get in trouble, it might not be a write up. When you cuss them out, they go write it down. Out here in Colorado, it's called a cron. They document all that shit. Play chess, not checkers. You document it back. Then after you go volunteer for something. Yeah, document that. Did you put that down? Thank you, sir. Exact same thing. That when the time comes, not if. I don't care how much time you're doing. When the time comes and you get looked at, here's a negative shit and here's a positive shit. It outweighs it because we're gonna have it, right? We're doing time. We're gonna don't let it knock you down. And if for some reason when you do them negative shits, don't give up. Don't say I already did this. I just gotta fight, so it's over now. Hell no. So do 3 positive things a good one. You know what I'm saying? And then you can keep your name 100, everything good, and still get out and keep and on the right track. So keep that hope and play chess back, paper trail, right back to the positive, right way.
I love it, man. I'm excited to see what you do in the future. I'm
Yep.
stoked for you, man. I love it. God bless you and keep grinding.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Travis. Appreciate you.
You got it, brother.